Hello guys, welcome to another episode with me, Razor. I've been off my computer for a couple of weeks now because I've had to travel abroad for work. Excuse me. So I just wanted to make a video to just talk about the changes that we've had over the last patch, coming from 5.2 to 5.3, and I wanted to just put out there what I have done in terms of my research and talk into the Shadow Priest and how it's changed and what you guys think and what you guys have done yourselves. So obviously this is a two-way thing. I really want to urge you guys to give me some feedback and tell me what you guys have done, because I've gone away and just put a little bit of research into the way to do it basically, and I found some things work, some things not. So I'm going to go into that. With regards to requests about the duels with the rest of the classes that I didn't include in my first video, I will make a video in the next few days with a mage, an enhancement shaman, which I've already recorded, and I believe I need to do one with a feral druid, which will be very difficult, but I'm determined to do it. Right, so let's get on. Okay, so I wanted to go into briefly the patch notes. There isn't a lot of change, to be honest, in this patch. I think it's just a minor patch they've got here as opposed to the changes they had since the last one. I wanted to go through just some of the notes and just explain what it means. So Power Word Fortitude had its mana cost reduced to 1%. This is a general kind of change they've done for many classes, down to from 4.4. One of the major ones they've done is Mass Dispel is no longer dispels magic effects that normally are undispellable. Now, I was horrified when I first read this. Thankfully, reading the rest of it and what the glyph section mentions, kind of reassured me that actually we're not losing complete. I mean, the reason why I was horrified was because first of all they took away mana burn, which a lot of people agreed with because they said there was no place in the game for it and it just created unbalance. Maybe so, but I think it was one of the abilities. Playing a priest for such a long time, it was one of the abilities that priests were known for, and it was removed. It's almost like removing a mage's frostbolt or something important to that class. Cast time has been decreased to 0.5 seconds for disc and holy priest, down from 1.5. So they get the ability that they used to get from the glyph, but just a normal base effect. Void Shift can no longer be used in Arena. This is the next patch note by Shadow Priest. So we can't use Void Shift anymore, full stop. Nerf, major nerf. A lot of people, I guess, complained about the fact that we were switching, but I don't think it changed anything in Arena that much that you were outskilled just because of this one ability. It did create change between one person and the other, but then you had the same ability to go and chase that person who had switched using Void Shift. And Shadow Priests aren't the most, we don't have the best off healing, and the only thing I used to couple Void Shift with was usually Spectral guys to try and get away and heal, maybe with Dispersion if I didn't have any other cooldowns. So this is a nerf to us again, so we've but it's not a major one. If you're playing Disc and Holy, actually it's more of a buff or more of the same, because you get a very low cooldown, and then you get the ability to actually take off using the glyph that used to be reducing the cast time. Now use the glyph instead would just remove the undispellable buffs like bubbles from paladins or the mage's ice blocks. Right, moving on. Glyph of Master Spell, as I said, has been redesigned and no longer reduces cast time. The glyph now enables Master Spell to dispel magic effects that are normally undispellable. So I've talked about the effects for Shadow and for Disc and Holy. Glyph of Smite no longer causes the additional 20% damage dealt by Smite to transfer into Atonement. So this is not really a major effect on Shadow Priests. It just means that you get less Atonement when you're using Smite. So you just use other spells, because now you can use Penance, for example. Very briefly going to Disc and Holy. Atonement now heals nearby friendly targets for 90% of the damage dealt, down from 100. So a bit of a nerf. Borrowed time now reduced the cast time from Priest spell by 15% after Power Word Shield was 15% spell haste. So it's just that one ability as opposed to haste overall. The buff. Penance now deals 10% less damage, but now is increased healing by 10%. Now what this means is they're trying to move Disc Priests away from doing such heavy DPS. which, you know, to be fair, though, you know, a lot of the times I could, for example, duel a rogue and beat them in PvP as a disc priest, because they just didn't have enough healing to. I mean, warriors a different story because of second wind, but some classes like hunters and rogues, you can actually beat them because penance did do a lot of damage, among other things as well. With Holy Tree, Divine Hymn now targets 12 raid members, up from 5 each time it heals when using 12 raid. So this is a PvE buff, I guess, because it heals more people. Shadow Vampiric Embrace now has a healing cap of 15 raid members, up from 6. Again, PvE, and it just means that you're healing more when you're in 25 player instances. That's about it for the patch notes. What I wanted to mention is the fact that we haven't actually had much change to damage or to area of effects. To crowd control, which means that we really shouldn't be changing a lot of the abilities that we have already set up. So, for example, just going briefly into it, Siphon's probably still the favoured one in top line. Phantasm, this is a debatable one, but this is one I like using because I couple it with the Spectral guys. If you notice, Fade is actually not on the global cooldown counter, which means when you use it, you can actually use Spectral guys at the same time, which I will demonstrate now. So I've put it into a macro where I'm using 2 abilities in one, as you can see there, both on cooldown now, and there's only one global. Reason why I do this is because a lot of the time when you use Spectral guys, you are in the middle of, especially when facing melee, you are in the middle of the battle, and they will, as soon as you vanish, they will start using AoE, and they will try and get you out as soon as possible. And plus, when you've got ticking dots on you, it pretty much breaks you out straight away. So this gives you the ability to pop Phantasm will give you the ability to pop Fade and pop Spectral guys at the same time, and then be able to get away a little bit further, so that you can escape, for example, their AoE, or you can just have a little bit more time to get behind somewhere and try and heal yourself up, especially if you've been focused. Third line is Solace and Insanity, no doubt about this one, because it does an immense amount of damage, as I've said in the previous videos. Spectral guys, explained that it works coupled together with Phantasm and Fade. Divine Insights, again, it's about getting those orbs up and the procs for Mind Blast. And then Divine Star, because it breaks stealth, and number 2, it heals you for the most amount. Although it's not the most, it heals you for the most amount, but it's not the most accurate, because it's difficult to get. For example, in a cone in front of you, it's difficult to get it, but still is the most effective. In terms of glyphs, obviously you've got to change your glyph of Master Spell. If you've already got glyph of Master Spell, it's pretty much the same, because you're using, now you've got a low cooldown, a low cost Master Spell, but you can still dispel magic effects that are normally undispellable, as it says there. Still obviously using Dark Binding, and then you can take your pick. I mean, I use Dark Inner Sanctum just for a little bit more magical defense. Obviously I use it above Inner Fire because that gives you more physical defense in terms of armor, and this gives you more magical defense. Magical defense, I think, is more important because there are generally more magical classes in the game than there are physical. So that's that. Oh, yeah. Okay, guys, lastly, what I wanted to talk about is the ability to change what they've done, basically, and the abilities that have changed rather in this patch, coming from 5.2 onto 5.3. Major changes, obviously they've removed resilience. This is the first time that resilience has been removed from items, although not from the game, but from items, since it was introduced in the Burning Crusade. So if you've noticed that your items no longer actually have any resilience, they are all just everybody gets a base of 65% resilience, which I really want some feedback on this subject, really, from you guys, because I want to know why. I really am confused about why Blizzard have gone down this route. They introduced PvP power, and then they introduced PvP resilience. They introduced resilience first, obviously, but then they introduced PvP power, and then they introduced a reduction to PvP power and resilience in favor of intellect and the normal stats, the basic stats that you get. So it's created a lot of a lot of difference in the way things are stacked up. And what I mean by that is, now everybody in PvE and PvP will get a 65% base. your items will give you power, which means you can cut through more of the resilience that people have, but also it doesn't give you as much as when you stack intellect. So intellect has become the major stat for our shadow priests. And in fact, if I was to go through when I was researching about what changes have been made and what that means to us, the stat priority that generally everybody was talking about was intellect, followed by haste, followed by followed by critical strike rating, and then followed by mastery. Haste increases the amount of time, decreases the amount of time that your dots take to cause the damage. So Shadow Word Pain, for example, now causes the damage in 17.16 seconds. Now, if I was to just go into my bag here and then put on my old chest piece, for example, you can see my Shadow Word Pain now does the same damage but in 17.26. What this means is, you get the damage done in a lot quicker time, which is good. It also means that your Devouring Plague lasts less, but you can cast it and cause the damage in a shorter amount of time, and you can cast your Insanity Flays a lot quicker as well, so it doesn't cut into the time that you can cast Insanity Flays, because it affects this as well. So, what I really wanted feedback on from you guys mainly is about, where Blizzard is going, for example, over the next patch or so, or the next 2 patches if there is going to be, and what is the future for PvP, because at the moment it looks like resilience is going to be taken out of the game and just be given as it's going to be given as a basic stat, almost like armor, kind of added into the game without actually having the need to actually stack it or anything else. Although they left the gems in the game for resilience, I don't think anybody's going to be using them. Unless you want to tank or something like that, then maybe that's what they're there for. I want to just go into finally the way I've done. Obviously I've stacked what I've done basically is for every red gem socket that I have, I've put into intellect, because as you guys know from the previous videos, I like stacking a lot of power. I like getting the big crits and I like getting a lot of damage out there. And I've put every yellow gem with 80 intellect and haste. I've reforged almost everything into critical strike rating and haste, with the third being mastery. I've got intellect on most places where it can be put in terms of the enchants. I have enchanted my chest with 300 stamina because that was the recommended enchant when I was doing my research on this. And I have left a little bit of power gems in, let's say here for example, just purely to round off my PvP power to 40% or around 40%. Reason is why, because you can still actually use, it's still effective because it still causes more damage and it does more healing in PvP. And at the moment I'm really kind of unsure about whether it's completely disregarded, or it should be completely disregarded, or whether we should still be putting a little bit more into PvP power. Now obviously I was stacked into PvP power overall before, and I was causing a lot of damage. Now it's more about intellect, and although I'm only at 22.974, actually I'm missing an enchant on my new shoulders, so it should be about 23.5, maybe a little bit more, and a well-rounded off number of 40% on power. So that should give me the same amount of attack damage that I used to have before. So finally, I want to say to you guys, please give me your feedback. This is obviously a two-way street. It's about me telling you what I have and what changes I've made and how I've adapted to the new patch. And obviously, I want you guys to tell me how you've done the same, and what changes you've made and what other recommendations you might have. If you'd like to see more videos, I will be bringing out more videos regarding my duel videos, for example, with the rest of the classes. So please subscribe to that so you can get more updates on my videos when I do post them. And as I said, please give me your feedback and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can.